Alright, so before we get started, I just wanted to go over a couple things as far as the unboxing and some concerns that I have seen so far online about the Altis Sigma. First things first, the unboxing is not that bad at all. It comes in a very well maintained crate. It's got wooden panels, metal frames, and you have these metal tabs that hold the box in place. All you need to do is just get a flathead screwdriver and a hammer, pry them up, and then tap them into place to be able to release all of the boxes or all of the tabs from the box. Whenever you open it up, the front wheel is in its own separate box right there. So first things first, just pull that out. Makes things a little bit easier. After that, you're definitely going to want to take down the side walls. That way you can get what's underneath out. And whenever you have this bike in the box, underneath, you're going to have a little cardboard box with two styrofoam boxes. The cardboard box is going to have your charger in it, and then the two styrofoam boxes are going to have your plastics, as well as things like your mounting bracket for your caliper and everything else. Now when you open it up, this brake is not connected to the handlebars. It is sitting in a little felt bag, which a few other items are as well, like the front caliper and something else up here that I don't remember, but one of those little black bags are going to have your key in it. I spent a while looking for the key, thinking it was in the boxes, keeping everything in those little felt bags just to keep it all safe, until I actually opened it up and found these inside of the felt bag. Putting this bike together was a little bit different than something like a Sur-Ron or an E-Ride, really just because of the plastics, the style of braking that it has. But all in all, it was a very simple process, and I only experienced one major issue when trying to put this bike together. Once I got it all done, I tried to compress my rear caliper, and it just completely flushed all the way to the handlebar. There was no resistance, like there was no brake fluid at all. This morning I popped open the reservoir and there was brake fluid in it, so I just continued to pump it until it started to have everything pushed through the system. I'm probably going to end up doing a brake bleed anyway once I get this new kit in, but for right now the rear brake does work just fine. As far as add-ons on this bike, they come with amazing front forks. These are the most beautiful front forks I've seen on a stock bike yet. And the pegs, you definitely do not need to upgrade. They have great rivets in them to give yourself traction, just like my Warp 9s on my E-Ride. Now, there have been some concerns that I've seen online so far about the wiring of this bike. I haven't ridden it that much yet. Whenever we go on this ride, that's going to be the longest I've ridden on it. So first things first, I did see a video where somebody was having issues with the LCD screen where they would turn and it would just shut off, and they would turn the other way and it would just shut off as well. From my understanding, there's an issue with the way that all of the wires are actually placed. So I might go through sometime in the future and rewire everything, but as of right now I haven't seen any issues, so I'm not going to really touch it. There are a few settings that I still have yet to go through, but right now I have my red card set for race mode, and then my black card is set for normal. So if I turn it on, the red key card, the LCD screen is going to come on, and then you're greeted with this screen right here. Now we have a bunch of controls up here. We've got a reverse button, we have a horn button, our headlight display, which you go up, headlights on, go up one more, then you have your high beam. Your gear selection right here will switch you from eco mode to normal, to sport, to race, which is only showing because I used my red key card that I set specifically. So if you want to set a specific key card to be race mode only. That way you can set the other one at street mode, and if you have any friends riding, they can just ride at a slower pace. That way they get used to the bike. You're going to want to hold the M until this screen pops up. Now here you have all the settings for the bike. You can set the password if you like. The original password is 0000. I have not changed that. I'm probably not going to. That just makes it a little bit easier. Now if you go into your vehicle settings, you can see your wheel size, gear ratio, throttle mode, etc. You can set the torque limit, which is at 100% right now. My throttle mode is at medium. I do not have the regen on for some reason. Whenever I try and set it, it gives me a code that says it fails. Modified failed. I'm not sure why that's doing that. I'm going to have to get in contact with Happy Rides or Altis to get that figured out. Right here you have your kickstand sensor, so you can turn that on and off if you like. The tilt sensor, so if your bike falls over, you can shut it off with that. And then brake power on. Race enabled, I've got that on. And then this should just go into the specs of your vehicle. Right now, average speed 0, max speed 0. Ride time 1 minute and 51 seconds. I did a little run up the road and back. There are many more settings in here too. The display settings I haven't really looked at yet. Screen daytime, units, miles, so you can change all of that kind of stuff in there if needed. I'm just going to leave it all the same. I have not messed with the NFC settings or the seat lock or the Bluetooth yet at all. I'm probably not going to. So here at our main screen, you see that I'm in park. I've got the kickstand down right now, which is that little symbol right there. Now it's gone. So right now we are in ready mode. This yellow button right here will switch you from park mode to ready mode. So if I click this, it goes to park. Click it again, ready mode. Let me switch through some gears. I'm just going to go to an eco mode right now, and we can get this run started. And this bike is very quiet at a slow, lower speed than other ones. I don't even hear the motor at all right now. Alright, we're going to do a run up in eco mode, and then we're going to switch to normal, and so on. Also, this reverse button right here, this is very handy. Look at this. Hold it, throttle, I'm going backwards. Alright, so with that, we're going to start the ride. Now this is eco mode, not very quick on the acceleration at all. It's very just relaxing. Looks like I'm topping out right here about 23 to 25 miles an hour. This bike is very, very quiet at a low speed. I've seen videos where people do hit higher speeds and it does get a little bit louder, but compared to other bikes going at this speed, this is extremely silent. Alright, that's normal mode. Hit about 23 to 24 miles at the most, which if you've got your friend on it, the acceleration at eco mode, you know, that's very, very easy to control. That's nothing that you would have to worry about anybody wrecking on, really, unless they're just heavily inexperienced. So now we're going to go up to normal. Let's see how fast we can go in this mode. I'm not too sure what this one tops out at. That's definitely faster though. Oh my god. Feels like it's probably about the top speed, going about 47, 48 miles an we have next? So we have sport mode next. Eco mode got me to what, 23, 24 miles an hour. Normal mode got me to 47, 48. Let this car pass by. Oh. Alright. I'm gonna let this car go up the road. Alright, sport mode. Let's see how fast this thing can go in sport mode, and then we're going to try out the race mode. Alright, I was going a little bit too quick to be able to look at the speedometer, but I did see that it went over 61 or 62 miles an hour. That I'm more than happy with. Very good acceleration in sport mode for your typical rider that has a Sur-Ron or a Tolera or an E-Ride Pro. This is probably a more relaxing mode, I would say, for them. They got the speed, they have the acceleration, but it's not completely cracked out like the race mode can be. So once this car gets passed, we'll test it out in race mode. Race mode, I don't know if I went the top speed. I did see the speedometer for a split second and it did say 68 miles. That's awesome. This bike's brakes are very well too. They compress really nicely. I mean, my only worry was that rear brake, which it still seems like it has some give compared to the front brake, but I mean, that's an easy fix. There's nothing to worry about with that. All in all, it's a very smoothly accelerating bike. Very quick, very fast, and with the 97 volt 30 or 35 amp battery, that does kind of restrict your range a little bit, but it does give you the ability to hit a higher top speed. The higher voltage you have, the more power output you're able to get. The higher amperage that you have, the more range that you're able to get. Oh, I can't wait to take this to trails. There will be more videos. This is the first one that I've done for e-bikes. I do have a couple GoPro videos from some previous trail runs that a friend of mine and I have done down in Virginia on my one gas bike and my E-Ride Pro SS 2.0 that has an X9000 controller on it. I've got a little surprise for that coming in here in the next month also that I'll have to update on. I'm very interested with this next upgrade that I have coming in. But as of right now, running this 20 kilowatt motor. It's the hairpin motor. It's amazing. It's very quiet. It doesn't get super loud at all, and even going at that higher speed, it kind of just still sounded more like an E-Ride Pro at a top speed. Now, if you do notice right here, you do see current. That's just displaying how much electricity we're using right now. If I turn my headlight on, this should go up. Went up to about 0.2 currents. Going up to the high beam puts it at about a 0.2 to 0.3 amps. So it's not too bad, but say you're trying to do a long trail ride, it definitely would be better to do it during the daytime if you're trying to conserve as much electricity as possible. You know, the 35 amp battery is only going to give you so much range, and from the range tests that I have seen on this bike, it seems like the range is anywhere from 38 to 40, maybe 42 miles per charge. Now I know that it states that it's if the battery has a 50-mile range on it, but that's only if you're going probably about like 15 to 20 miles an hour. You could definitely get that range out of it then. But if you're trail riding or riding through the streets where you're elevating your speeds and decreasing and going back up, that will drain the battery out running at a higher speed. Right now I've only got 1.7 miles in on this trip, and I did run it a little bit last night, but not much at all. Probably like not even a quarter of a mile, literally just up and down this road. But right now I'm at 94% battery, and I've got a total of 1.7 miles and a ODO of 2 miles. So from 100% down to 94%, I've at least gotten 2 miles in, which if you're going at a fast speed, it definitely will decrease a lot faster. But cruising around going like 30 to 40 miles an hour, you should definitely get a decent range. Huh. That might be that standby mode that the manual is talking about. So there is something weird. I don't really necessarily know how to turn the bike off yet. I have to pop this seat, and then I have to hit the kill switch button underneath of it. But supposedly what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put the bike in standby mode, which I'm assuming would be, you know, obviously in park. But and then you're supposed to touch the key card up to the NFC slot on the side. But for some reason, whenever I do that, it doesn't shut the bike off. So I'm just gonna have to look into that more. I'm definitely just doing something wrong, but I've got plenty of time that I can look into that. But as of right now, this bike is nice. Like, I really enjoy this bike. I love my E-Ride 2.0. Like, that is, getting that bike changed my whole perspective of just riding in general. That bike is quick, it is fast, and it's 130 some pounds. It is super light. This bike weighs like 160 or 180, I don't really remember, but it's a little bit heavier. But you can feel that too. Like, if you're just sitting still, you can definitely feel it. But the plus side of that is whenever you're riding, you definitely feel a lot more grounded. Because like anytime I hit, you know, high speeds on my E-Ride Pro, it can sometimes feel like I'm almost gliding. And if you're on like a dirt track or anything like that, that's not good. You don't want to feel like you're weightless in a very loose track, otherwise the bike will spin out underneath of you. You do need a little bit of weight just to be able to hit that comfort zone and keep yourself stable. But let's ride around this neighborhood a little bit, and I might pull out the E-Ride just to see how they both feel separately. Bike is definitely a lot heavier. Something I've noticed on it so far is that it is a little bit harder to get that wheel to pop up. My E-Ride, I mean, I can just keep that thing in eco mode, which now I've got the X9000 on it. I do have my street mode settings set to a similar kilowatt for the eco mode on the stock controller. But even in that eco mode on the X9000 that I've set, the wheel pops up like nothing. The bike is super light. And I know that the new 3.0 SS and the SR, they're definitely heavier. I think around like 168 to 170 pounds each. It smells like weed. Huh. So the newer E-Rides are definitely a lot heavier, which I'm assuming is probably going to feel a lot better for the riders, especially for those who are trying to hit tracks where they're running into loose dirt. Having my E-Ride 2.0 on a MX track is a little bit of a nightmare with the amount of torque that little bike has with such a light weight to it. The power to weight ratio is just insane on that bike. It's crazy. And whenever I did put the X9000 controller on my E-Ride 2.0, it did, on the stand, the top speed on the speedometer did read at 68 miles off of the stock motor. And if you have a 2.0 and you want to get an X9000 on it, I know some people have said that it's like kind of pointless, but I actually really love it. You have a lot of versatility with it. You can set specific settings in your street mode and your race mode, 3 different settings each. So for me personally, for my street mode, I've got street mode 1 at I think 4 kilowatts, and that's mainly like for my friends. That way if they hop on the bike, you know, they don't feel intimidated at all with the front wheel literally just popping up on them. They are able to gradually increase. I would say that the acceleration on the 4 kilowatt setting is probably just about as quick as what this right here would be. It just gradually goes up, just very slowly, and then it caps off at like 28 miles an hour or 25, wherever I have it set. But it's really nice. And then I have setting 2 set at 6 kilowatts, and then setting 3 is set at I think 8 kilowatts. That way, like setting 2 and setting 3 are kind of like what the original stock sport mode would feel like. Now for my race mode on the X9000, I'm pretty sure I have it set at 6 kilowatts or 8 for race mode 1, and I have the top speed maxed out on it. And then setting 2, I think I have it set at 11 kilowatts, just 1 kilowatt under the stock 12 that the motor peaks at. And then for race mode 3, I have it set at 15 kilowatts. The stock motor on the E-Ride Pro SS 2.0 can handle 15 kilowatts off of the stock battery and the X9000 controller. Now, if you get an upgraded battery, that motor is able to hold and peak at 20 kilowatts based off of some videos that I have seen. The Tolero boys, they have a video with an E-Ride Pro that has an E-Watt battery, and that's an 81 volts, I think, and 45 amp battery. It's a little over 3,600 watts. I don't remember the exact number. But with that battery, or Chai battery, or EBMX battery, you're able to run 20 kilowatts off of the stock motor. Now, I don't know how long for. I don't know if that messes with the motor itself. I'm sure it probably makes it overheat a little bit more, but all in all, I mean, if you're upgrading and putting that kind of money in the bike, you're most likely going to replace the motor in the future anyway, so who cares? Now, I do plan on getting the XLB60 for the E-Ride Pro eventually. I'm just waiting for them to be back in stock and just waiting for the extra funds to actually be there for me. But as of right now, that bike is cracked at 15 kilowatts. It's an amazing bike. Still, even with the 3.0 and the SR out, whenever people ask me what bike they should order, I obviously ask them like what they want to ride it for, like if they're trying to hit the track or trails, or if they're trying to hit top speeds on the road. A lot of people just want a bike that's really fun, and right now I think the E-Ride Pro 2.0 is the best bike in the game for that. When I first bought mine, it was like $5,200 after taxes, something like that, and after shipping. Now the E-Ride 2.0 SS is down to $4,300 or $4,400, so it's almost $1,000 less. That's a very, very large gap, especially considering that Sur-Rons with a 60-volt battery are still selling for like $4,200 or $4,300 bucks. I think the E-Ride 2.0 is still the best bike to buy for your typical rider that's not trying to have the fastest bike. I know some people want to have the fastest bike. That's why I bought this one. I just wanted to have a bike that was fast as hell stock. But the E-Ride 2.0 SS going 60 miles an hour at 130 pounds, I mean, that's excellent. And at $4,400, that's a steal. I think Sur-Rons at this point are kind of outgunned unless you're getting an Ultra B. But even then, if you're getting an Ultra B at that point, I mean, if you have the extra money, you may as well just throw the extra money to getting the Stark Varg. I think that would be the better buy out of them if you do have like credit available for it and you can safely do that kind of purchase. Also, if you're trying to build credit, you know, that's also another thing you can do if you don't really know what to spend money on to build credit. Well, fun toys like this are an excellent thing if you have just enough credit to be able to get something like this. This bike rides very, very smooth too, especially having knobbies on it. Man, this thing feels very nice. I don't plan on putting street tires on this for a long time, just because it's a little bit bulkier than the E-Ride. It looks more like a dirt bike than the E-Ride. I'd rather just ride the E-Ride around town if I'm gonna do something like that. It just looks more like a smaller bike and you're more likely to get away with stuff. But this bike is beautiful. I'm excited to take this on a trail ride and have my friend ride it, have him experience it. Those videos will definitely come and I'm going to post them. And if this page does, you know, actually gain some type of traction, again, this is the first video. I've only got 2 subscribers right now, and one of them is myself off of my other YouTube channel for games. But I do plan on putting stuff out in the future, putting how-to videos. I've done all the work on my bikes as far as installations for everything. I don't consider myself to be a mechanic at all, but I have been very mechanically inclined for years. I do a lot of my own work on my cars. I do have a YZ 125cc, the 2000 or 2001 model, I forget, but I have to do a whole entire engine rebuild on that. The bottom end, I think the crank in it might have broken. But with these bikes, you don't even have to worry about that. No cold starts. You don't have to change the oil except for in these ones with the gearboxes, but that's every 5,000 miles on this bike from what the manual says. So I'm not going to be worrying about that for a very, very long time. Still, one of my favorite features on this bike is probably the fact that it's got a reverse setting on it, which I just threw it in park. Which you do have a reverse setting on the X9000 controller if you upgrade any of your bikes with that controller. Whenever you download the app and set the bike up and calibrate everything, there is a setting in there where the wheel can turn counterclockwise or clockwise. You know, going clockwise, you're going to be going forward. Going counterclockwise, you're going to be going backwards. So if you need to change that for some reason, you can. And also on the little LCD that has your speed on it, there is an up and down. I don't know if it's a plus and minus like this, but there's an up and down button, and that'll allow you to change through your different settings within your street or race mode, going all the way down to nothing, and then one more below it. That does put you in reverse on the X9000 controller. So I just think that's a very cool setting that EBMX included in their controller, and I'm definitely excited to see what the E-Ride Pro SS motor is going to be like whenever they get them back in stock at Grid Shift. I probably will have this next upgrade for my E-Ride Pro in about a month, maybe 2 months at the most, but whenever I do get that, I may do an installation video depending on what all has to be installed, if anything does have to be installed, or if it's just a simple swap out, then that's good. But whenever that gets in, I'll have to put up some information about that, because that 2.0 is freaking cracked.
if you're looking to buy a bike and you don't know which ones to look for, especially now with there being so many brands out there and it's just extremely overwhelming, the E-Ride 2.0 SS, 100% buy that. Goes 60 miles an hour, it hits 30 miles in, like, I forget, 2.36 seconds or something like that off of stock. And then if you upgrade the controller first, you know, you can hit a little bit higher kilowatt, and then if you upgrade the battery, you can hit even higher. And then upgrading the motor, you'd be able to unlock to go up to 30 to 40 kilowatts, which that speed would probably be insane. But this is the Altis Sigma. I've been waiting a little over a month and a half now for this bike to come in. I pre-ordered it as soon as I had the funds available back in November, and I do not regret it. The only thing that I'm not really too worried about, kind of, but not extremely, because I have felt these wires and it does feel like they do have some slack, but not much when you're turning all the way. So that's the only little scare that I do have with that. But this bike is beautiful. Also, one other thing I don't like is how narrow and thin this handlebar is. Like my Warp 9s on my E-Ride are probably about that thick. So I mean, these are kind of narrow. I'm hoping that an aftermarket company does come out with a new handlebar mount that has a wider insert, so that you can get a Warp 9 handlebar attached to this, or a Pro Taper handlebar, just a better handlebar than this in general. It's not that this is terrible, it's just that it could be a lot better. And the only thing it would have to be is they just have to make sure that up here is still the same size, so you can put all this stuff on properly. But this bar down here, like, that's really narrow. I don't really like that. That should be fatter. I mean, I'm not going to break it or anything, but if I was somebody who was hitting MX tracks a lot and hitting jumps with heavy landings, then yeah, I would definitely want a heavier bar. Alright, so I ran back to the garage. My GoPro's at 6% right now, so before it dies, I'm going to try and get a quick run on this E-Ride 2.0 and just to go over some things that I do have installed on this. I do have a bunch of titanium screws. I also have the Warp 9 big headlight with the magnesium bracket, as well as the Warp 9 handlebar mount, which I got the black one, and the bracket for the headlight is magnesium, so I think that looks really, really nice like that. I've got the blue stem lock. I've got some side view mirrors. I got these off of Amazon. I can put a link to these in the description. They're really freaking nice. I'm pretty sure it's an American company that makes them too. I'm not too sure. What else do I have on this thing? I've got the Warp 9 foot pegs. Other than that, I think everything else might be stock. I do have different hand grips on here. I do have these side fenders that I got off of Amazon, which they're made for Sur-Ron specifically. So I did have to cut some of the parts out that are up in here, so it was able to form with the seat correctly. And then I just used zip ties and drilled some holes up in the top bracket of the plastic itself to be able to just zip tie right to it. But I really like getting those. I think it really makes the bike just look a little beefier. Not too big, but I think it looks perfect. Ignore this paint right here that I have. I spray painted it a few months ago with peelable paint, so like this will all literally just come right off. So I might keep the front fender like that, because that still looks very clean and nothing's peeled off of it yet. But this is going to come off. I might repaint or just leave it black. I'm not really too sure yet. I was thinking about doing maybe a red and black theme. I'm not too sure. But anyway, before this camera dies, I'm going to get a ride in real quick on this. It's probably been about a month since I've ridden this bike. It's been sitting in the shed in the cold, so I know I should have it up on a bike stand during the wintertime. I haven't, and I know people have had issues with the forks on the 2.0, but so far mine are good. If there's any issues, I'll just get in contact with E-Ride. I mean, I've got a warranty on this bike, as long as they're okay with me, you know, swapping certain things out anyway. But these forks are pretty good for somebody my size. I'm not really a heavy person at all. I'm a very light rider. I'm about 5'10", 5'9"-ish. Only weigh like 130, 135 pounds. So like I'm a very light person. Like sitting on that, I don't even think the rear shock went down any. Sitting on this, it goes down maybe a half an inch on me. So, and I haven't even replaced the rear shock at all. So all the suspension is still stock. The brakes are still stock. The major upgrades that I have are the controller, and that definitely opens this bike up. I'm not too worried about getting new brakes just yet. I do have brakes in mind, and they're kind of expensive, so it's going to take me a while to actually get them. But I'm more worried about getting the performance upgrades, to be honest. I'm not too worried about upgrading my suspension yet. I don't hit crazy jumps or anything. I do a lot of trail riding, so like the suspension I have is great. But as far as performance goes, I do like to hit top speeds every now and then. And I just like a bike that has that power to it, so I will be upgrading everything else in this bike strictly for performance before I touch the suspension or the brakes. But let's get to a little ride. We're in street mode right now. Let me switch that to race. Oh, it's been a while since I've ridden this. Here, I'll hold up here. Right there, that's what it is. Okay, so now we're in race mode. I'm going up to 1. And like I said before, you can go up to 3. And going to 0, below that is R for reverse. So like now I go backwards. It's freaking awesome. I love this bike. But race mode 1, I forget what kilowatt this is at. I think it's at like 6 or 8. It's one of those two, I don't remember. But let's see how this bike goes in race mode. And this bike is definitely louder. Neighborhood. Alright, let's see this shit. So this is race mode 1. I am at 42 miles an hour right now, 43. Get on here, turn around, and turn it up a little bit. I think I'm just going to skip straight to race mode 3. We're going to run the 15 kilowatts. And this bike is definitely a lot louder than the Altis. Holy shit. That bike was silent compared to this. And I didn't even tighten the chain on that. So really there should have been a slight chain slap. But let's go up to race mode 3 in this thing. I freaking love this bike. This is my baby. Alright.